My girlfriend dumped me because my parents' house looked poor. She changed her mind after reading a business article. I'm 30, male, still processing this, so bear with me. I've been with Kelsey, 28, female, for almost 2 years. We met on a dating app, hit it off over our shared love of food and travel, the usual stuff. She's a social media manager for some high-end spa chain. I'm an ER nurse at a Phoenix hospital. Different worlds, but it worked, or so I thought. For context, Kelsey's really into aesthetics. Her Instagram is curated within an inch of its life. Every brunch needs to be photographable, every vacation needs the right backdrop. I'm more of a take a blurry pic of my coffee before a night shift kind of guy. She'd joke about my Toyota Camry from 2012, but I figured it was just teasing. The thing runs fine, why would I buy a new one? The whole time we've been together, she's been asking to meet my parents. I kept putting it off, not because I'm ashamed of them, but because I knew exactly how she'd react. My dad, Rick, is 63 and spent his career building up a parking lot business from a single auto shop. My mom, Linda, was an elementary school teacher. They retired early, live in a modest house they bought in the 90s, and spend their time gardening, playing cards with neighbors, and watching sports. They're happy. They're also the most down-to-earth people you'll ever meet. Their house looks exactly like what it is. A 3-bedroom ranch from 1994 with the original Formica counters, a floral couch from 2005, and mismatched dishes. My dad still changes his own oil in the driveway. My mom clips coupons and gets excited about manager's special produce. They've never financed a car in their lives. The lawn isn't landscaped like an HGTV show. It's just a regular middle-class house in an older neighborhood. I knew Kelsey would judge it. I knew because she'd already made comments about my apartment being cute but small and asked why I didn't invest in nicer furniture. I cook at home because I like cooking and it saves money. She'd say things like, we should go out more, experiences are what matter. Sure, but I'm also maxing out my 401k and putting money into index funds. Different priorities. Finally, after enough pressure about how weird it was that she hadn't met them after 18 months, I caved. Last month, I drove her out to their place for Sunday dinner. The drive there, she was excited, chattering about how she'd finally get to see where I came from. We pulled up to the house and I watched her face change in real time. The smile went tight. She made some comment about the neighborhood being charming in that tone people use when they mean the opposite. Inside, my dad was in his standard uniform, old t-shirt with a mysterious oil stain, cargo shorts, and those terrible foam slide sandals. My mom had made lemonade from scratch and poured it into old Starbucks cups we've been reusing for years. Kelsey's smile was so forced I thought her face might crack. Dinner was my mom's homemade lasagna with vegetables from their garden. It was delicious. My parents were warm and welcoming, asking Kelsey about her work, laughing at her stories about difficult clients. My dad told his usual terrible jokes. My mom showed her the tomatoes she was growing, but I could see Kelsey taking everything in with this look of barely concealed horror. When she asked to use the bathroom and my mom directed her to the bathroom, as in, the only one in the house, I heard her sharp intake of breath. My dad, oblivious, started talking about how he still does all his own car maintenance. Why pay someone $50 to change oil when you can do it yourself in 20 minutes? Kelsey's smile was getting more strained by the second. At one point, my parents asked about her retirement planning at work, if her company offered a 401k match. Super normal question from people who value financial security. Kelsey looked at them like they'd asked about her dental history. She gave some vague answer and changed the subject. The drive home, she was silent, not thinking, quietly silent, ice-cold silent. About 15 minutes in, she asked me to pull into a parking garage near this upscale plaza she likes. I thought maybe she wanted to grab coffee or something. Instead, she turned to me in the car and said, I need to be honest with you. My stomach sank. I'm really struggling with what I saw today, she said. Your parents are nice people, but Blaine, they're living like they're one emergency away from poverty. At their age, they should have more to show for their lives than a falling apart house and a vegetable garden. I just stared at her. They're retired and happy. What exactly should they have to show? Security, she said. Stability. A life that shows they made something of themselves. And you, she gestured at my car, my clothes, you're exactly the same. You're 30 and you drive a 12-year-old Camry. You live in a one-bedroom apartment with furniture from Target. You eat leftovers for lunch. Those are choices, I said slowly, not failures. They're the wrong choices for someone I'm planning a future with, she said. Her voice got softer, like she was trying to be gentle while gutting me. I can't marry into that kind of life. I need a partner whose family isn't stuck in survival mode, who has ambition, who wants more than just getting by. My parents aren't in survival mode. They're comfortable, they're happy. They clip coupons, Blaine. She said it like it was proof of something shameful. They reuse Starbucks cups. Your dad wears shirts with stains on them. That's not comfortable, that's barely scraping by and pretending it's fine. I felt something cold settle in my chest. So you're ending this because my parents' house didn't impress you. I'm ending this because we have fundamentally different values, she said. I want a partner who wants to build something, who wants nice things, who thinks about what kind of life our future kids would have. You're content with good enough. I'm not. She called an Uber from the garage and left me sitting there in my piece of shit Camry that runs perfectly fine and has 60,000 miles left in it easy. I drove home, blocked her number, and told my parents that night that we'd broken up, but it wasn't their fault. My dad just shrugged and said, "Better now than after a wedding." Here's the thing I didn't tell Kelsey, because it was never her business. My parents aren't poor. They're not even close. They just live like they are because that's how they're comfortable. The parking lot business my dad started. He built it into a chain of lots and commercial real estate across Phoenix. They sold off most of it over the years and kept just enough to live on comfortably plus some investments. When they retire, they're not worried about money. They're worried about whether the tomatoes will ripen before the heat gets too intense. But I wasn't about to explain any of that to someone who took one look at their house and decided they weren't worth her time. She made her choice based on what she saw. The numbers in a bank account shouldn't change someone's worth as a person. I haven't heard from her since. Blocked on everything. I'm honestly just relieved I found out who she really was before we got more serious. Update 1. Okay. So this is wild and I need to update because my quiet little breakup just got extremely messy. About 3 weeks after the breakup, my parents asked me to meet with their financial advisor, a guy named Mr. Delgado who's been handling their stuff for years. Turns out they'd been planning to sell their last remaining parking lot plus a strip mall they owned, and the deal finally went through. They wanted to talk about estate planning and setting up a family LLC. The sale was in the low 8 figures. I'm not going to get more specific than that, but let's just say it was enough that when Mr. Delgado said they wanted to transfer some assets to me now for tax optimization purposes, I nearly fell out of my chair. They're setting up a trust and basically giving me a chunk now, somewhere between 3 and 4 million, so they can see me benefit from it rather than waiting until they're gone. Their words. We have more than enough to last us the rest of our lives. You might as well have some now to build your own life with. I'm still processing this. I'm an ER nurse living in a one-bedroom apartment. I drive a Camry. And suddenly I'm sitting in a lawyer's office learning about LLC structures and tax implications. But here's where it gets messy. Apparently, the sale was big enough that the Phoenix Business Journal did a little write-up. Local family sells long-time parking business, son to oversee new real estate LLC or something like that. They included a photo of me standing with my parents in front of one of the old lots. I didn't think anyone actually read the business section of local papers. I was wrong. My mom goes to this church where one of the ladies is apparently a voracious reader of local news. Every section, every day, like it's her job. She saw the article. And apparently I'm getting this secondhand. She mentioned it to another woman at church who happens to be Kelsey's mom's friend from some PTA thing years ago. 2 days after the article ran, I got a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Kelsey. I know you blocked me, but Can we please talk? I owe you an apology. I blocked the number. An hour later, different number. I heard about your family's business. I'm happy for you, really. I was wrong about them. Can we grab coffee? Blocked again. Then came the Instagram DM. I forgot to block her there. Blaine, please. I know how this looks, but I need to explain. What I said about your parents was horrible. I had some childhood trauma around money that I projected onto your family. Can we please just talk? The thing is, I don't buy it. Not even a little bit. She had 2 years to work through whatever issues she had with money. She had 2 years to get therapy for her childhood trauma. But she only started caring about apologizing after she found out there were dollar signs involved. I talked to my parents about it. My dad laughed. My mom looked sad and said, "Some people measure worth in the wrong currency." I've kept everything blocked. I'm not interested in whatever explanation she's cooked up. She didn't want me when she thought my parents were poor. She doesn't get to want me now that she knows they're not. My friend Jay, who's a firefighter and has zero patience for this kind of thing, said I should post the whole story on a billboard. I'm not going to do that, but man, it's tempting. Edit. Someone asked what I'm going to do with the money. Honestly, I don't know yet. I like my job. I like my life. I'll probably invest most of it and maybe buy a small house. My parents didn't raise me to be flashy, and money doesn't change who you are unless you let it. Update 2. I really hoped I wouldn't need to post again, but Qley is apparently incapable of taking a hint, or a block, or 12 blocks, so it's been about a week since my last update. I've been keeping everything blocked, ignoring the random number texts that keep coming through with variations of "please just talk to me," and "I know I hurt you, but I've changed." Last night, I came home from a night shift at the hospital around 7 a.m., completely exhausted. I walked into my apartment lobby and there she was, just sitting there on one of the chairs like she had every right to be there. She stood up when she saw me. She was dressed way more casual than I've ever seen her, neutral colors, minimal makeup, the whole "I'm a regular person now" look. It was so calculated it almost made me laugh. "Blaine," she said, "please don't walk away, I just need 5 minutes. I was too tired for this. How did you get into the building?" "I waited for someone to come out and caught the door," she admitted. "I know that sounds bad, but you won't answer my messages and I really need to talk to you." "No," I said flatly. "You don't. You need to leave." But she launched into this whole speech anyway. How she's been doing a lot of work on herself since we broke up. How she was terrified when she saw my parents' house because she grew up with financial instability and it triggered her. How her therapist, she really emphasized that she has a therapist now, thinks that closure would be healthy for both of us. I just stood there holding my work bag, staring at her. "When exactly did you realize you needed closure?" I asked. "Before or after you read the Business Journal article?" Her face flushed. That's not fair. I've been thinking about reaching out before that. The article just. It made me realize I'd made a huge mistake. "Right," I said. "So to be clear, you were going to reach out and apologize for judging my parents as failures because of their furniture, and the fact that they're apparently worth 8 figures just pushed you over the edge. That's the story." "You're making it sound. I'm making it sound exactly like what it is," I interrupted. "You didn't leave because my parents were struggling. You left because their house didn't photograph well, because my dad's t-shirt had a stain, because we only have one bathroom. None of that was about trauma, Qley. That was about you wanting a life that looks impressive." She switched tactics. The soft, apologetic tone hardened. "You weren't honest with me either. Most people would disclose that their family is wealthy after 2 years together." I actually laughed at that. "My parents' money is theirs, not mine. I've been living exactly the way you saw the entire time we were together. That wasn't hiding anything. That's just my life." "But you let me think." "I didn't let you think anything. You saw a house with old furniture and decided my parents were poor. That was your assumption based on your values. I didn't owe you a financial disclosure about my family's private business." She was getting more frustrated now. Her voice went up. "So what, you're just going to throw away 2 years because I made one mistake? Because I panicked when I should have?" "You didn't make one mistake," I said. I was still calm, but I was done. "You didn't panic. You made a calculated decision that I wasn't worth your future because my family's lifestyle didn't meet your standards. Now you've made another calculated decision that maybe I'm worth it after all because the standards got met after all. But here's the thing, I don't want to build a life with someone who sees a 30-year-old couch and immediately thinks poor like it's a character flaw. Her eyes were getting wet, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine emotion or performance. With Kelsey, those lines were always blurry. You're really going to do this? She said, you're going to regret this. There are plenty of men out there who would know what they're walking away from. Good, I said. Go find one of them. Maybe someone who appreciates granite countertops more than character. I walked past her to the elevator. She called after me, but I didn't turn around. I went straight to the building management office later that day and added her name to the no trespass list. If she shows up again, they'll ask her to leave or call the cops. My mom called me that evening. Apparently Kelsey's mom had called her, asking if the kids could work things out. My mom, bless her, said, I think Blaine's made his choice very clear and I support him completely. I'm done. Fully done. Whatever she thought we had died in that parking garage when she told me she couldn't marry into my family's life. The money doesn't change that. It just proves the point. Final update. All right, final update because I need to close the book on this whole mess and also because some stuff happened this week that I need to document. It's been about 6 weeks since the lobby confrontation. For the first couple weeks, things were quiet. I thought maybe Kelsey had finally gotten the message. I should have known better. First, she started showing up places. Not at my apartment. She knew that would get her in actual trouble with building security, but at the coffee shop near the hospital where I usually grab a cup before night shifts. Then at the Trader Joe's closest to my place. Every time she'd act surprised. Oh my God, what are the chances? Like Phoenix is a small town, and she just happened to be at the same grocery store at the same time twice in 1 week. I stopped going to those places. Changed my whole routine. It shouldn't have been necessary, but I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of confronting her again. Then, about 10 days ago, I got a call from my hospital's HR department. Apparently, a woman had contacted them expressing concern for my mental health following a recent inheritance and some family stress. She'd given them her name, not Kelsey, some random name, and said she was a concerned friend who thought I might need support. The HR rep who called me sounded deeply skeptical. She said the whole conversation felt off, especially when the concerned friend started asking specific questions about my schedule and whether I was seeing a therapist through our employee assistance program. They documented the call but told me they'd back me up if I needed to escalate to legal action. I started keeping a folder, screenshots of all the texts from different numbers, the Instagram DMs, documentation of her showing up at places, the HR call, everything. Just in case I needed a restraining order. But here's the big thing that happened last weekend. My buddy Jay was having his 31st birthday party at his place. I almost didn't go because I knew Kelsey was friends with a couple people in that group, but Jay told me she wouldn't be there and he'd make sure I was comfortable. I didn't want her to drive me away from my own friends, so I went. She showed up anyway. I was in the kitchen grabbing a beer when I heard Jay at the front door saying, "What are you doing here? I didn't invite you." I came around the corner and there she was, dressed up like she was going to a club, already pushing past Jay. She saw me and her whole face lit up like this was fate. "Blaine, see, I told you we'd run into each other eventually. The universe is trying to tell us something." "The universe is telling you to leave," I said. "You weren't invited." She ignored that completely and tried to walk toward me. Jay physically stepped in front of her. "Kelsey, you need to go right now." "I just need 5 minutes alone with him," she said, and her voice was getting louder. Other people were starting to notice. "Just 5 minutes to talk without everyone interfering." "We've had this conversation," I said, loud enough that everyone could hear. "I wanted witnesses at this point. Multiple times. I don't want any further contact with you. We're done. We've been done." That's when she started crying. Not quiet crying, loud, dramatic sobbing about how I was emotionally abusing her by refusing closure, and how all she wanted was to explain herself and I was being cruel and cold. Jay's girlfriend, Emma, came over and tried to talk to her calmly. "Kelsey, this isn't the place. You should go home." "Why is everyone taking his side?" Kelsey shouted. "He's the one who lied about his family." "I was honest about my feelings and you dumped him because his parents' house wasn't nice enough," Jay cut her off. "Then you wanted him back when you found out they had money. That's not complicated, Kelsey, that's just gross." Her face went red. She looked around the room at everyone staring at her, and I could see the exact moment she realized this wasn't going the way she'd planned. "This is bullshit," she spat. "You're all acting like I'm some gold digger when all I wanted was a partner with ambition." "Out," Jay said, pointing to the door. "This is my birthday party, not your drama audition. Get out of my house." She left, but not before shooting me one last look that was half pleading, half furious. Jay apologized for the rest of the night. I told him it wasn't his fault, and honestly, I was glad it happened in front of witnesses. Everyone there now knows exactly what she's been doing. I've blocked probably 15 different numbers at this point. I've documented every incident. My parents' lawyer, Mr. Delgado, has all the information in case I need to file for a restraining order. The hospital security knows her description. My building management has her photo. But here's the good part, and the real reason I wanted to write this final update. I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than okay. About 2 months ago, I used some of the money my parents transferred to me and bought a duplex not far from their place. It's older, needs some work, but it's solid. I'm living in one half and renting out the other half to a young couple who just moved to Phoenix. The rental income basically covers my mortgage, and I've got a project to work on in my off time. Last month, I met someone. Her name's Harper. She's an art teacher at a middle school, and we met at a community pottery class I signed up for on a whim. I took her to meet my parents 2 weeks ago. She spent an hour in the garden with my mom talking about composting. She helped my dad organize his tool shed. When we left, she said, "Your parents are wonderful. That house has so much love in it." That's when I knew I'd found something real. We're taking it slow, but it feels right in a way things with Kelsey never did. I told her the whole Kelsey story last week. We were sitting on the back patio of the duplex, drinking cheap wine, and I just laid it all out. She listened to the whole thing and then said, "She wanted a different life than what you were offering. You wanted someone who didn't care what your dad's shirt looked like. You're just not her brand. That's okay." No drama, no judgment. Just acceptance that people want different things, and sometimes that means you're not compatible. I haven't heard from Kelsey in about a week now. I don't know if she finally gave up or if she's just regrouping. Either way, I'm prepared. I've got my documentation. I've got my support system. I've got a house I'm fixing up and a woman who actually appreciates that I know how to use a socket wrench. Kelsey said she couldn't marry into that kind of poor. Turns out, my parents were never poor. My dad built a business from nothing and sold it for enough to secure their retirement and then some. They just never needed to prove anything to anyone. The only poverty in this whole story was in her values. Thanks for following this whole mess, Reddit.